Hey, Dr. Mack, how are you today?
All right, how you doing, sister?
I'm all right. Happy Juneteenth.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Today to
Yes,
celebrate and be happy.
absolutely. Today, a day to celebrate, be happy, and just be free.
Right,
And that's what this day is all about.
right.
Of course, we want to thank all of our viewers for joining us today. As you can see, it's Dr. Mack and I hanging out. Marilyn could not join us today, but I know she's here in spirit, and she's probably watching somewhere. So, Marilyn, hey, how you doing? We'll see
Hey,
you next
Marilyn.
week, hopefully.
Yes.
We have a really good lineup today. Of course, Dr. Matt comes to us every single week with COVID-19 updates, and I know that everybody wants to hear what's been happening over the past week or so, especially as we move into the weekend, which may be a busy weekend for a lot of people because it is Father's Day weekend.
Right.
And so I know folks want to get out and start shopping if they're not already doing that and whatnot. So Dr. Mack, go ahead and tell them what they need to know as they start moving around and mingling across Horry County.
Okay. As far as the numbers go, they're continuing to rise. Worldwide, we've gone in the last week from the number of cases from 7.6 million to 8.7 million in the last week. The number of deaths worldwide have gone from 426,000 to 460,000. In the United States, in the last week, the number of positive cases have gone from 2.1 million to 2.28 million. And in the United States, the number of deaths have gone from 116,000 to over 121,000. South Carolina specifically, the number of positive cases in the last week has gone from a little over 16,000 to over 21,000. The number of deaths in South Carolina in the last 7 days have gone from 588 to 621. In Horry County specifically, the number of positive cases in the last week has gone from 849 to 1,560. The number of deaths in Horry County in the last week has gone from 33 to 35. Georgetown County, the number of positive cases over the last week have gone from 117,000 to 233. I'm sorry, the number of cases have gone from 117 to 233 in Georgetown with 4 deaths. Marion County has gone from 86 cases to 118 with 5 deaths. So again, as time goes by, the number of cases, of course, are going up. Now, there've been a lot of talk about that, and I'll kind of get into that in just a little bit, but a couple things that have kind of emerged over the last week, looking specifically at Tidelands Hospital and the things that they've been doing. They've been pretty much one of the leaders around here with getting the free test and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Since late May, they've done over 5,000 tests. Okay. And out of those tests that were done, about 6.5% of those people were positive. 6.5%. But surprisingly, the age breakdown was what was the biggest thing in that statistic. Between 0 to 15 years old, it was 10% of people. Between 16 to 25 years old, it was 16%. Between 26 to 40, it's 11%. 41 to 64 years old, 5%, and greater than 65, 2%. Now, when I looked at that, of course, blaringly was the 16 to 25-year-old.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, again, part of this can be the numbers that, the ages of people that came out, and it just may have been more young people that came out as opposed to older folks. However, 16% is a lot higher than what I would have expected, and I'm sure what Thailand's probably expected. So what that's looking like is that some of these young people may end up being some of the super spreaders around here. Now, part of that could be if proper hygiene's not being used, certainly if the masks aren't being worn, certainly if we're not getting into hand washing like it should be done, can be an issue, which a lot of times, quite honestly, is an issue with younger people. I mean, older folks too, but younger people as well. So that is something that stood out significantly from the data that was released by DHEC through some of those Tidelands tests. But
I think,
go ahead.
I was going to say, those numbers are very concerning for me because, we haven't really been hearing a lot about those age ranges, at least that 16 to 25 age range. In the past few weeks, it's always been more about the senior population, and right. Now we're seeing that uptick. So,
well, I think what's happening there is the numbers that we were getting were primarily numbers that were done through hospitals. Now that you've got these free tests in these places like Tidelands that are doing these tests, you are getting more mobility, more people coming in to get tested, particularly the younger folks. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where those numbers are coming from. Other things that have happened too is some of the hospitals have had to expand their wings for COVID patients. They're opening up additional wings because there are more people that are being admitted with COVID. Again, the majority of people that will get COVID will not have to be admitted to the hospital, but those folks that have chronic conditions, diabetes, cancer, asthma, sickle cell, some of the other chronic conditions will be more likely to need to be admitted to the hospital. So that's a very important thing. Yesterday in Horry County, we had a record high number, 28 cases, 128 cases. And again, these numbers that I'm giving are numbers that were through Thursday. So today's numbers haven't been released yet. They typically release that after our show. We also know that there's been about at least 15 to 20 restaurants around Horry County that have had to shut down because of positive employees. So that's very, very significant. One other thing, April, that's being seen nationwide, a lot of studies, of course, are being done and conducted, but there was one that was done through Northwestern University in Chicago, which evaluated 88 patients that were COVID positive. And they found that these people had genetic differences in their strains of the virus compared to what we're seeing in other places. So in other words, some of these strains are seeming to be unique to individual cities. That is a further problem because the virus appears to be mutating at a faster rate than what you would expect to be mutated. So that was something that was released this week that was very, very significant. Another thing specifically to South Carolina that was significant, and I mentioned this when we talked with Dr. Bell on Sunday, was that for the first time, South Carolina has gained twice as many new cases as the nation. Again, those studies were done looking at the scaled version and an actual per capita. Simply what that means is per 10,000 people in the United States compared to 10,000 people in South Carolina, the United States gained 330 new cases, whereas South Carolina gained 700 per 10,000. Another way to look at it is per capita, per 10,000 people. The U.S. increase went up 0.6%, whereas South Carolina's increase went up 1.3%. And that's where the double is coming from. So again, it is rising at a significant rate in South Carolina. You've got people, particularly, I think the state of West Virginia is called back down to Myrtle Beach and then to the area. Came there and
they're tracing cases back to Myrtle Beach. Exactly.
Right. So it's significant. We've had, at least 14 states that have hit record 7-day highs, 7-day averages that are higher than any 7-day period since the pandemic. Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Florida, Kentucky, New Mexico, North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Oregon, Tennessee, Texas, and Utah. Those states are having significant increases. Some of the facilities, a nursing home. There was a nursing home around here that had 46 plus cases in the last 30 days in one facility. That's worrisome and concerning. The concern is that, I still think that, we're not taking it as seriously as we should. And
I was going to ask, okay, two things. The dynamics of the increases. Some people have said that it seems just absolutely relative that there are increases in the cases because more people are being tested. Okay.
Right.
And then, but yet there are some people who are trying to connect it primarily to the fact that everything has reopened and we have visitors. And so, there are dynamics that go along with that. In these cases, as far as the tests are concerned, do you think that there are any transient people or visitors who are actually a part of these numbers, or do you believe that what we're seeing is purely Horry County, Georgetown County in terms of the testing?
I think it's a mixture. I think it's people coming in, bringing it, and I think it's what's going on here. But let me talk about the numbers, okay? First of all, you're right. There are total, and I get asked this question too. There are more testing that's being done. But more testing being done doesn't necessarily mean there should be more positive tests.
Exactly.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that lets us know that these numbers are rising is that the number of tests that are being done have been pretty consistent over the last 10 to 14 days. However, the number of positive cases keep going up. So that tells you, look, they're testing about the same number of people, but guess what? More people are testing positive. So it's not like one day we're testing, they're testing 20 times more people than they were 2 or 3 days earlier. The number of tests that are being done are about equal, but the number of positive cases keep going up. Also, another way to evaluate that is the number of hospital beds that are being used. And the number of hospital beds are going up. So the thing that people are saying, well, it's just because we're testing more people. Just because you test them doesn't mean that they should be positive. So that's another thing that it is definitely rising. It definitely is an issue. And until we start wearing these masks more consistently, which is proven to be the number one way to reduce spread, we're going to have issues. You've got these Asian countries that have been strictly enforcing masks. When they did it, the numbers went down. As soon as they stopped using the mask as much, the numbers went back up. So that's a definite issue there that, we need to make sure that we're pushing that message that the mask will not only save lives, but not wearing the mask is just simply irresponsible and not caring for folks. I mean, so again, I think it's very important to keep pushing that message. It's important to keep pushing the message about washing your hands for at least 20 to 30 seconds. It's important to keep pushing the message of using at least 60%, having at least 60% alcohol in your hand sanitizer. It's important to push the message to keep your hands away from your face. It's important to understand what these symptoms are, and if you're having any of them, to seek medical attention.
The cases in the nursing homes, it kind of baffles me as to why we are seeing the nursing home cases increase, because I'm thinking, well, does it have anything to do with the relaxed visitation policies, or is it that evidently somebody's bringing it in, or does it exist in the nursing homes? What's happening with that part?
That's where it's coming from, because most of those facilities aren't even letting people visit.
Right. Yeah.
So it's got to be somebody bringing it in. It's got to be somebody bringing it in. And so again, it's like a wildfire. What we call the R naught, where one person gets it, that one person can affect 3, can affect 9, it just goes exponentially. And so that's why it's so important to try to get a handle on this initially so it doesn't keep spreading. Not just in the nursing home, though, but in people's homes.
In people's homes.
Churches, in church choirs, at gatherings.
This dynamic with the restaurants, and it seems like the restaurant closings were happening like every single day. There was something going on, and it makes you wonder whether or not the people who returned to the restaurants were actually practicing the social distancing and making sure that washing hands, wearing masks while they were in quarantine or away from work. And obviously that's the case, or that's not the case, because there's so many restaurants that are closing now, whether it's for that 2-week period or, they're just having to totally shut down. And it just makes you wonder why people are are just continuing to not take the precautions, at least to wear the mask, if they see that it spreads rampantly like wildfire. I mean, it's the whole restaurant closing thing after everything opened up was kind of mind blowing, especially with so many that were listed. I mean, there was definitely more than 20 restaurants listed across the Grand Strand. There's probably more than that now.
Right. Well, the problem is that some of these people are taking this as a political stand. Some people are saying, look, I'm not going to wear a mask because my president isn't wearing a mask. And so I don't think I need to wear a mask. That's part of it. The other part of it is just complacency. Another part of it is I'm healthy. It won't affect me, which is a selfish attitude to have, because it's not really about you. It's about other people in the community. Mm-hmm. So in my office, you can't come in here unless you got a mask on. Point blank, period. Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line.
I'm sorry. Was it last week that you shared information about the new findings with the asymptomatic person?
Right.
Yeah. Can you share that again this week?
Okay. What happened was the World Health Organization gave a position statement that basically said they didn't think that asymptomatic carriers could be spreaders or super spreaders. Well, after research and data has been done and a lot of these people were tested, it was found that a lot of these folks who tested positive had no symptoms. And when they did the contact tracing to see who they were around, those people that they were around were positive. Mm-hmm. So the likelihood is that these asymptomatic people are spreading and shedding the disease, and that they are getting other people sick. So the World Health Organization had to come back from that statement. The thought is, and what most studies are showing, is that most people will probably have this for anywhere between 10 to 14 days as far as shedding the virus. However, some studies have shown that people can shed virus for up to 6 weeks. Now, I don't think that's the norm. I don't think that's the norm, but I think the norm is probably anywhere between 2 weeks to 3 or 4 weeks. Now, when we say shedding, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have enough of the virus to get somebody sick, but it means that you can still isolate this in their stool, in their saliva, and they still may test positive, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have enough of the virus to get somebody sick.
Okay. All right. Well, just want to remind our viewers that if you have any comments or questions about COVID-19, definitely post them in the thread, and Dr. Matt can see them, I can see them, and I'll help to moderate whatever your thoughts or comments or concerns are. Yeah.
Well, another thing too, is making sure that high traffic areas, high contact areas need to be wiped down. Refrigerators, stoves, counters, doorknobs, door handles, door jambs, the door itself that need to be wiped down. Okay. And I keep saying this, and I'm gonna keep saying this over again. Don't wear these gloves all day. Okay, because you're just taking it from one place to another. So in other words, if you go to the gas station and you use the gas pump, take those gloves off after you do it. Because if you don't, you're gonna take that. You're going to go to the grocery store and touch the gallon of milk or the T-bone steaks. And then you're going to walk out and you're going to touch the gloves. Take those gloves off when you're going from one place to another. Okay? Please do that.
Absolutely.
Wearing gloves all day. Now you're hearing this. If you're still wearing gloves all day and you're hearing this, you're being selfish. Okay? That's just what I got to say.
That's a nice way to put it. You're being selfish. Right. Okay, there's a comment. Thank you, Vonda Vandross Brown from Columbia for watching today. Her question is, due to such high numbers in the Black community, Spanish community, one African-American doctor advised of more vitamin D. Do you think, can you elaborate on that? Would that be helpful?
Vitamin D is a vitamin that the richest source of it comes from sunlight. Vitamin D has been shown to help boost the immune system. There really haven't been any huge studies that show that vitamin D will help protect you against COVID. However, we know vitamin D can help your immune system. So at least indirectly, it should help out.
Okay. DK Reeves, thank you for watching today. She says, I heard the increases from Memorial Day visitors takes about 2 weeks for that data to be available. So From
We're
Memorial Week, I was
there.
going to say Memorial Weekend. We should have that data now.
That's when we first started seeing these numbers when we got deemed a hot spot a couple weeks ago. So we're already there.
Okay. And then her other question is, what should someone do if you're told your test was neither positive or negative, and to keep doing what you're doing? Is that possible? There's like a neutral result?
It can be borderline or kind of indeterminate. Again, these tests aren't 100%. So if you're told that, I probably would try to get retested again within 3 to 5 days.
And there's still a lot of testing going on. I think you posted something maybe last evening with some testing sites, pre-COVID. I've seen a lot of posts about the antibody tests, and you know, you may want to just kind of touch upon that a minute. Let's
talk about that. Okay, there's 3 different types of tests. Okay, there's the PCR nose test, where they stick the swab in your nose. They can actually do it through saliva too now, but most people do the nose. That picks up viral particles. That tells you whether you have the COVID right then. There's also something called an antigen test, which there's been one test approved for that. And that actually is just like if you go to your doctor's office and they test you for strep or for mono, that picks up viral particles. Okay. That can be done through a finger stick. And that really hasn't been widely used yet because those companies are coming out with that technology now. So those pick up the viral particles and tell you whether you have COVID right then and there. The third thing is the antibody test. Now let's talk about that because I've gotten 4 calls this week about antibody testing. Right now, well, let me say it this way. The antibody test will tell whether you've been exposed to a coronavirus. Right now, the test is sensitive for coronaviruses, but not as specific for COVID-19 as it needs to be. So in other words, COVID-19 is a type of coronavirus. It's a type of coronavirus. The common cold is a type of coronavirus. What's happened is some of these tests we believe are showing cross-reactivity that if they come back positive for antibodies, it may not necessarily be for COVID-19. It could have been from a cold. It could have been from a common cold. So right now, it's not really recommended that you get antibody tests. There's some people that are trying to get them, but I'm not ordering them until the test gets more specific for COVID-19, which I imagine it will come to that. But right now, it's just more of an experimental thing to look at populations and numbers. Just because that antibody comes back positive doesn't mean it's specific for COVID-19. It's specific for a coronavirus, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's COVID-19.
Yeah, and I think that you can't make that clear enough, and you've pretty much said it over the past few weeks. So, you know, you don't want people to have a false sense of security that they've, you know, received the antibody test and they're like, I have it or I don't, or I have it, because it's not really, that's not really what that test is designed to do.
And because the virus appears to be mutating so fast, we're not even sure if positive antibodies will give you immunity against it. So it's going to take more research and more studies to see whether positive antibodies will. Now, what has happened is there's been this convalescent plasma where people who were sick and have recovered have donated the plasma, which is the liquid part of their blood, which has the antibodies in it. And a lot of people have done well with that. So the thought is that it probably does give some immunity. We just don't know how much.
Right. All right. Well, Dr. Mack, I tell you, it's there's a lot of information I'm sure that you have to filter through and analyze as you prepare for these reports every Friday. And I'm sure the community can't thank you enough for clarity of the information. Jody Davenport Graham from Charleston, thank you so much for watching. And yes, the clarification is definitely needed, because we definitely don't want people to feel that they know everything there is to know. Since it's, if the virus is mutating, that means information is changing and conditions are changing. And so, you just need to stay on top of it. Of course, rely on trusted sources and things of that nature. I know you got your finger up, the Baptist finger.
I saw one question from my good friend, Reverend Eddie Vaughn up in the Greensboro area, asking about recommendations on church gatherings, even with small congregation. First of all, I would say that it has to be at, if you're going to have it, less than 10 people. And those people have to be spread out at least 8 to 10 feet. So if you can do your service, via social media with as few people there as possible, that's the best route to go. Because again, you're having people that are out in the community. They may or may not be wearing masks. Somebody gets positive, and then everybody who's been in that congregation now then has to go and get tested and quarantine until their results come back. So right now, the best thing to do would be to try not to have it if you can, and use the social media technology, Facebook or what have you, phone calls and that kind of thing, to try to keep people connected with the spirituality that they need.
Absolutely. All right. So again, the COVID-19 updates. Thank you so much, Dr. Mack, and Dr. Mack is gonna stick around as we bring in our next guest. We're really excited to have two of Conway's finest joining us today. And their appointments are very significant in our community, in that they are going to take on the charge of running two very amazing high schools, Conway High School and the Early College High School. So yeah, I know, right? Conway Tigers, yes, always a Tiger, no matter what, always a Tiger. And I'm particularly happy because one of them happens to be a class of 88 Tiger. So what's up? I love it. But I'm going to bring them in now. I hope they're ready. They've been primping and prepping, y'all. I can see them in the little lobby trying to they're laughing. Running back and forth, trying to get right and whatnot. But you two are beautiful and you are excellent. We are very happy to have you here today. Mrs. Tanika McKissick and Miss Demetrius Williams, newly appointed principals in the Horry County School District. Tanika, of course, is the principal of Conway High School, and Demetrius is the principal of Early College High School. Welcome, ladies. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So glad to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Let me say this first. I'm so proud of these ladies. I know both of them personally and think the world of them. And I couldn't think of two people that were more deserving to get this. Second of all, when April and I talked about having this show, we said, yeah, we need to do it. And I said, April, you take one, I'll take the other one, and we'll wear them down until they say yes. So thank you all for making our job easy.
Exactly. So, we're going to try to make this as painless as possible. We promise we won't dig into your personal lives and things of that nature, unless you want to share some information. But really, this is more about, first of all, letting you see and know that the community definitely supports you and all that you've done. You two have been embedded in education in Horry County for a number of years, and have definitely created career paths that have brought you to this point. And so, wanted to have you share your thoughts and your feelings about the moment that you realized that, for, of course, Demetrius, that you were going to be principal of Early College High School, and Tanika, you of Conway High, and what brought you to this moment. And that would be a moment that hopefully will inspire others who are aspiring to become educators, but also just kind of the outlook on education. We're in a new era of education, and things have changed so much since the onset of the coronavirus or COVID-19. And even though I know that you all probably can't get into a lot of specifics about what's to come in the fall, just your thoughts and your insights on what you've seen so far. And I know if you're like Dr. Mack and I, you probably never imagined that this would be happening in our lifetime. But, just kind of get your thoughts on that. So I'm going to start with Miss Tanika. Just let the viewers know a little bit about yourself and who you are, and then we'll go over to Demetrius and then kind of get into some questions.
All right. Well, as you shared, I was.
Oh, you're on mute, Tanika. Yeah, there you go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we got you now.
Good afternoon,
yes.
everyone. As you shared earlier, I was just recently appointed principal of Conway High School. I was born and raised in Conway. I am a graduate of Conway High School, class of '94. And I, for the past 8 years, I've served as assistant principal at Conway High School. But before that, I was in Richmond, Virginia for 7 years. In addition to teaching in Richmond, I've taught in New York, I've taught in Columbia, So I've kind of been all over the East Coast. I just finished my 21st year in education, and I returned to South Carolina in 2012, and that's when I took on the assistant principal position at Conway High School. So born and raised here, moved around a lot, but passionate about children no matter where I am. I must say that it's a different feeling, and it's rewarding to serve your own community. Although I love kids all around the world, it was just, for me, it's more personal because I am serving the community that raised me, and I always wanted to come back and give back. Sometimes you have to move around and get new experiences, and I've been so blessed to be able to do that because I've seen things done differently. And I believe it adds to your experiences and things that you bring to the table. But I'm very glad, was very glad to come back here to South Carolina, to Conway, to serve as assistant principal at Conway High School.
All right, Demetrius?
Well, I'm a resident of Horry County as well. And I'm actually from the big city of Bucksport. And like Tanika, I share a very similar history. Graduate of Conway High School, class of '88.
Yes.
And, I got my teaching start at Conway Middle School. I taught for 15 years in the middle school, and then I left middle school and went to high school. And I actually worked at Early College High School. I initially started off as a teacher before becoming an instructional coach. So the majority of my teaching experience has actually been inside of Horry County schools. I did teach for a year in the Delta of Mississippi, and that was an eye-opening experience. I think it was that experience that made me realize even more why I wanted to be home in my own community. So I had the opportunity to return back to Early College and then served as an instructional coach there for about 5 years before moving on to Whittemore Park. And I've been an assistant principal inside of Whittemore Park for the past 6 years before having the opportunity to return. Coming from that Bucksport community, it's instilled in me a passion to just really push education. My mother once told me that education is the great equalizer. She said, it doesn't make you, she said, it won't make you rich necessarily, but it gives you options. And so I've carried that sentiment with me in everything that I've done, and working with young people, trying to expose them to the belief that you can do anything you want, but you have to have that education as that foundation to make that happen.
Absolutely. And you two are basically lifelong learners. As one of Demetrius's personal friends, we joke with her all the time about the fact that she's just always in the books and always working. And Tanika, I know that you've probably done the exact same thing. And so, it's very, I'm sure it's very natural for the both of you to be where you are, doing what you do. And, that's one thing that we always talk to students about in higher ed, that, if you can look at a career path as more than just a job, not only will you feel fulfilled, but that's where you will make the most impact as far as, what you are, giving back to society. Demetrius, you are at the Early College High School, and Tanika at Conway High, and they're different environments. So describe for us your environment so that, for those people who don't really understand what Early College High School is all about versus going to a traditional high school like Conway High, tell us a little bit about that Early College High School environment.
Okay. Early College High School is a high school. You can walk away with a high school diploma, but our students also have the opportunity to earn an associate's degree or college hours. And the whole foundation of the school is to target that first generation of students who will be the first in their family to attend college. Also, students who may come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, students of color, and then students who are middle to average, not identified as gifted and talented, but that population of students that are considered to be underrepresented on college campuses. And so the beauty about that program is that Horry County schools allow students to actually, while they're in high school, earn an associate's degree or college hours that can transfer to our partner universities in the state.
Absolutely. And Tanika, Conway High, okay, how different is it from when you attended Conway High?
Well, it is different, but it is also very much the same, and I'll kind of elaborate on that. Conway High School has always been what I consider a pillar in the community, built on, long-time traditions. And a lot of things have changed, but a lot of that has stayed the same. I joke with people when I'm kind of having this recent conversations. I recall being a student at Conway High School, and it was to a lot of students around the county. Everyone wanted to attend Conway High School. Everyone was intrigued about Conway High School. It was like this big building, that big school on 501. And I remember coming home to visit when I was living in Virginia, and I would always pass by and I would share some of the things with my children. And so, every time we passed by, we would have some conversation or something I would share about my experience at Conway High School. But it is changed in the fact that there are different challenges within the world as a whole. But the traditions have not changed. It is family oriented. People still are very proud of a lot of the progress that Conway High School has made. And we're looking to cultivate still that culture of academic excellence. But it is changing, like I said, within as it changes in society, but it's still very much the same. At this time, we serve approximately, or this past school year, 1,500 students. And some of our students, about 300 of them attend program schools. Ms. Williams just shared, she just spoke about early college. Some of our students are based at Conway High School, but they attend early college, ATA, AAST, but we had, students that are based there, about 1,500 students. So students that in those program schools are able to participate in athletics there. So they still are, have the opportunity to be a part of Conway High School, although they're attending other schools for whatever reason, whatever majors they may be interested in. But in summary, it is very much the same. It is, like I said, so rewarding to serve our students, because students now have different challenges within the society. So I'm so honored to be able to provide those supports that they need to get through high school. It was different for us when we went to school. We didn't have the challenges, social media, different things like that our students now have. So they just need different levels of support that we didn't necessarily need when we attended Conway High School. So just trying to hold on to those traditions and serve the students that we have now, help them get through those challenges that they are experiencing is that's kind of how it is at this time.
So as you think about, what's ahead in education, what are some of the things that you have kind of made a part of your professional agenda as far as what you'd like to do at Conway High School, or how you'd like to carry on what's already happening at Conway High School?
Well, in my 8 years there, I had the pleasure of working for great principals. The last 4 years, I've worked with Mr. James, and working alongside of him has been a great experience. I want to continue to, as I said, cultivate a culture of academic excellence, put systems of support in place for students, and make it an equitable environment for all students. Looking at our athletics, looking at the clubs that we offer, because we want every child at Conway High School to feel a part of Conway High School as they do now. But we want to continue that. So looking at how we can focus on increasing academic rigor, but also providing extracurricular activities for everyone to feel a part. I'm looking forward to working with the staff, the parents, and speaking of parents, I would like to increase parental involvement and remove some of those barriers that are there, because, talking to parents, just trying to see what it would take for them to be a part of Conway High School. Everyone has had different experiences as a child growing up, and sometimes those experiences limit them from attending school functions, as well as them just, some parents work 2 jobs. So we have to make it, and like I said, equitable, having some things during the school day, having some things in the evening, so that parents are able to attend those functions and be a part of their child's experience. So definitely looking at increasing parental involvement. I'm looking at making it an equitable experience for all students, and working with the community, with parents, with all stakeholders, to just see how in general the environment can be conducive for all students.
So Demetrius, I asked Tanika what her professional agenda, maybe even some of her, personal ideas are for how she wants to carry on what's happening at Conway High, or even, change or improve some things. So I'll ask you the same thing about early college high school.
Okay. A lot of the ideas that Ms. McKissick mentioned will be some of my focus as well. I do want to increase more opportunities for students to know about the program. I also want to encourage the students that by coming to early college, you're not giving up that traditional high school experience. You can still participate in sports or whatever your passion is, and you actually can have it both. So making that an awareness for kids, making sure that particularly students, all students, but definitely students of color, are aware that you can have it all. You can go to college, you can earn those college hours, as well as participate in some of those traditional high school experiences. I'd also like to create more opportunities to mentor students, particularly a lot of our students who are first generation. It can be a difficult transition for them when they are the first in their family to go to college, because oftentimes being that first in the family, sometimes you go up against naysayers, people who kind of say some things that don't always pour that positivity in your spirit and kind of question, who do you think you are, or why do you think you're doing that? So want to create that mentoring piece for those students, but also through that mentoring piece, allow them opportunities to create that network. As I said earlier, I know how to get a student through high school. I mean, any teacher that has worked in the educational system understands how to do that. But my biggest concern is also providing that layer of support for those students once they leave that threshold of that of high school, making sure that they have that support base, particularly being first generation students, to be able to finish the work that they've started. Or if you've earned enough credits at early college to transition on to a four-year school and start off as a junior, making sure they understand how to navigate that piece, because the comforts of the public school system won't be there to hold your hand and help you through with that. So for me, I want to increase opportunities for our students to network. I want to institute more mentoring for them. And then also I want to increase the number of students that actually walk away with an associate's degree. As you look at the upcoming jobs that are across the state of South Carolina, you'll see that many of those jobs are going to require students to have a technical background.
Absolutely.
So being able to help those students tap into exactly what it is they're interested in. If the four-year college path is for you, individualizing that plan so that those students are put on that appropriate track, and then helping that student get to the college of their choice to complete that degree. But if you are a student and you want to take up HVAC or culinary arts or cosmetology, helping that student navigate that path as well. So just finding the right niche for each student. And that the number one goal is to make sure that those students have the skill set to go forth and attain whatever their goal is.
And I think that's important, especially because you all are in secondary education, that there's a recognition or an acknowledgement that every student is not college bound. There's college and there's career readiness. And so you're right, customizing plans for them. I think that's the one piece that we see in higher ed that is apparently missing. And it's not missing because you maybe have not made the attempt. It may be missing because there just needs to be, more conversations about it with students. And I'm sure it's hard for you all to find the time to make that happen, considering all the other things that you probably are charged with doing to get these students ready just to graduate from high school. So when you talked about the mentoring piece, and Mac, of course, I'm not leaving you out of conversation now. If you have any questions, jump in. But when you have one, okay, you're on mute. You want to ask? Go ahead.
So, what is it that the community can do to help you ladies with your students, and can help your students thrive and help you all as well? What kind of things can the community businesses, community leaders, people in the community do to help out?
Well, April and Ms. Williams or Demetrius were talking about a mentoring program. I'm sure she's going to share, but we also have a mentoring program at Conway High School for our female and male mentor program, Rise and Rose. Mm-hmm. And part of that is that we have mentors that come in to the school. The students meet every Thursday from 3:30 to 5. Students are paired with a mentor, and they are asked to meet with their students at least twice a month. And it does not have to be during that period. They can come during lunch. And all mentors, of course, are vetted through Horry County School system, background check and all that. So that is definitely something that that is going to continue. So for the community, if anyone is interested in being a mentor, that's something that we want them to have, have the opportunity to do so. And then we were speaking about college and career readiness. I see that. We were speaking about college and career readiness.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
You're offering, right? You're offering. Yeah, okay, that works. But going back to the college and career readiness piece, it is important for community members to come into the school and share their experiences with the students about different careers. We have our annual career expo. Mrs. Schofield heads that, and she's done an awesome job with that. And, we brought in different members of the community, and it's been awesome. But also, you shared, I think, April, you shared about having those conversations. Mm-hmm. I think it is extremely important for guidance counselors, teachers, to have those conversations with the students about post-secondary options. Because as we said earlier, every student is not going to attend a 4-year college. Mm-hmm. Every student is not going to attend a 2-year college. Some students are going to go straight into the workforce. They're going to, now they're able to get certain certifications in school. We have our pharmacology program at Conway High School, where kids can leave Conway High School and become a pharmacy tech. They're going to the program schools, and they're obtaining certifications. So we have to be honest. I recall being in school, and it seems like when I was in school that most of the conversation was just about going to a 4-year college. Mm-hmm. And for certain careers, that has to take place. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to have to go to a 4-year college.
You got to start there. Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to go to a 4-year college. A lawyer, things like that. But I think parents need to ask questions, and they need to have honest conversations with their children about what their aspirations are, and not be afraid to ask those questions during those IGP meetings that take place.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Because the thing that, I've seen students go to college and they spend $50,000 on a degree, and they realize, this is not something that I want to do. So it is important to be able to have those experiences, work-based experiences, before committing to that. And we have to share with parents in the community about all the post-secondary options that are there for students. But that is a piece. And for me, I'm currently working on my doctorate, and that is actually part of my topic.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So that is something that every opportunity that I get, I have those conversations with parents, and I, ask teachers, and guidance counselors to be honest with parents and allow them to ask those questions about what's best for their child moving post high school.
Mm-hmm. There's a question that's come in about the role of school resource officers and how important is having the right school resource officer in your school, and what role do you expect them to play?
Either
one. Yeah, either one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go after you, Tanika, because my building will look a little different.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, we actually, Officer Ritchie is our resource officer at Conway High School, and his role is he's awesome. He builds relationships with students. He sometimes have conversations with students that they may not feel having with other staff members. I think that is one of his strengths. But another something that I think would also be beneficial for school resource officers is doing some things within the community where students are informed about, when they don't make certain choices, these are the disadvantages. And I think that students need to know that, one decision made at the age of 15, 16 can be detrimental to you moving forward. And I don't think sometimes students really understand the severity of that. And sometimes we assume that students will always have an opportunity to attend, PTI programs, but that is not always the case, because depending on what happened, they may not have that opportunity. But I would say, as I said, just keeping the students and the parents informed, going into the classrooms and having, small lessons with students, so that they're bringing some of that real life experience from the real world into the classroom. So those are some of the things that I think as school resource officers, that would be beneficial to the school community. Some have, unfortunately, we're in a time right now that is there's some tension. And I think that we need to realize that there definitely are good school resource officers out there, and they're looking to do the right thing for students. And we just have to be open-minded so that we're not in the way of students receiving those benefits. We have to be open-minded to that, because at the end of the day, it's about the students receiving whatever they need to be successful.
Yes, and that has been my experience with school resource officers. Of course, early college, high school is a little bit differently. We are on a college campus, and so we will be utilizing the law enforcement services that are provided by Horry Georgetown Technical College. But my experience with officers have been building that relationship with kids, making students aware that it's okay to come to them when they're in time of need. And the ones that I've worked with inside of Whittemore Park, we've been fortunate to have officers that have come into that building, and they've shown kids that they care, and they care about what happens to them outside of the school. Our officers have actually built relationships with our kids, and we check on our kids because many of them do policing in the communities that feed into our school. So many of our kids have that opportunity. But one of the things we've done in my Bucksport communities, we've had like a forum where we would bring the officers in to kind of talk with parents about what they need to do to support kids, but also talking about how, as parents, particularly in this digital age where our kids know how to make technology do all kinds of things, and we kind of just turn them loose with technology and not pay a whole lot of attention, but kind of arming the parents with information on some things that you can be aware of and what your child may be doing on the social media sites, because everywhere you go, you leave that digital footprint, and the last thing you want to do is to have your child create a digital footprint that can create problems. So just trying to arm those parents with information, because again, what parents oftentimes will believe in their experiences will trickle on to the students, and that can also either support or hinder that relationship piece with the law enforcement. So just trying to arm everyone with information. And I will continue that when I go to early college, even though our environment will be just a little bit different.
When it comes down to other types of, learning or education that you all can introduce to students, what we talk about in higher ed, as it relates to employment, goes back to employees or people who are good candidates, because not only do they have the technical skills, but they have also had a chance to elevate their soft skills. Is there any opportunity for any of you, and has, this maybe even been a topic with Horry County School District, to introduce some soft skills training for students, especially leadership training, training on interpersonal skills, professional interfacing, and things that they need to be prepared with, because, based upon the talk we were just having about college and career readiness, if someone is not necessarily going to go the college track, but they're going to go, straight into the workforce, then that's a vital piece that's probably missing from their development as a student. So is that something that you all have thought about or would be open to having some of your community partners help you with in terms of that kind of training for students?
Yes, and I would welcome that at early college, high school, but also we have a college readiness program called AVID. And even though AVID does push our students to go to a 4-year school, and of course we're pushing the 2-year school as well, in that program, students are able to get some of those skills and leadership that you're referencing. But I would most definitely welcome the opportunity to partner with outside community agencies to help our students with problem solving skills, working together in groups. All of those are those skills that jobs are looking for.
And we also have the AVID program at Conway High School. That's one of our programs. But we have our students at Conway High School, depending on what programs they're in, you know, some are in STEM and they have the opportunity to participate in, you know, work-based programs and some internships. But that would definitely be something that we would like to do. We do some of that with our mentoring program, with our Rise and Rose, where, you know, we are having them work together and have, as I said earlier, some people come in and speak with them from the community, just on various topics. But that is definitely something that I feel is needed, because that is such an important piece. You can have all the technical skills, but if you don't know how to work with people, then you're not going to be too successful in life.
That is absolutely right. And I wanted to kind of tap a little bit on the digital learning piece. Now, I know, you know, in the midst of our COVID crisis, the digital piece was definitely a challenge for school districts all across the country. And as you look to the fall and the things that you may see as additional challenges as you make transitions and things of that nature, you know, what are some things that you all would like to see from the standpoint of being leaders at your school in terms of support for digital learning, should we have to go into a quarantine situation again?
I'll go. You know, we didn't plan on March 13th of this year that would be our last day in the building. And I was just speaking with the first year teacher, just graduated, will be a first year teacher. That was not something that college prepared her for. So this has been an eye-opening experience for me. You know, I've always had an interest in technology. My master's is in educational technology, but I didn't feel like I would be using some of those skills for this particular situation. But one thing that I would like to see if we were moving forward in this, you know, distance learning, is that we make sure that we are continuing to communicate with parents. I feel like, you know, our teachers at Conway High School did a great job. The administration team did a great job, and parents were doing the best that they could to help their child be successful. So I would like to do more of some virtual meetings. If we're not allowed to come in the building, of course, some virtual meetings with parents so that they're able to ask questions, maybe do some videos, how-to videos for parents, because students are not always going to be honest with their parents about what they, you know, what's being submitted on the, you know, online and different things like that. And parents are, you know, if they're not a teacher, then that may be something that they don't know. So I think definitely being a support for parents, and also being a support for teachers, and looking at incorporating some different, you know, online programs that we can use that are within the guidelines of Horry County schools. We use Google Classroom, or we used Google Classroom as our platform, but there were other, we used Discovery Edge, just, you know, different programs. But giving those teachers an opportunity to share some things that they would like to do, and providing some professional development for them to be able to do that. But definitely supporting the parents. So that is kind of, you know, something that I would like to do as the leader.
And exactly. And I found through this experience that many of our parents were very uncomfortable with technology, and they were thrust into a world that they had very little training for. And so one of the things I would like to continue is being able to create opportunities. Believe it or not, I've actually did home visits during the closure. I would go to parents' houses and just kind of make sure they knew how to get on the computer, because for many of the parents that I worked with, they had an email address, but it was more or less for registration purposes. It was not an account that they use regularly. So just making sure that parents understand how to access some of the resources. And something as basic as, how do you get online? I mean, it was an eye-opening experience. I think our teachers did an amazing job, because for many of our teachers, believe it or not, some of them, their technology skills were not quite where it needed to be, but they ran a race and got caught up quick and was able to really support students. But the biggest thing is taking that fear away from parents, because there were a lot of parents that kept saying, I just need paper and pencil. I just feel better with paper and pencil, and helping them realize that paper and pencil was not necessarily going to be an option in this model. And I
Right.
don't know what the future will hold, but I feel certain that if we have to utilize e-learning again, just making sure that parents are very comfortable with it, even if it means holding, like Ms. McKissick said, parent meetings where they show up virtually and you kind of show them how to navigate some of those resources and show them how to use Google Meet or how to access Google Classroom. And for a lot of our parents, that was a big learning curve for them. So that professional development piece for the parents, but also making sure that teachers are familiar with a lot of the different programs. I know the teachers that I work with did a phenomenal job at mastering programs such as Edgenuity, some of the other different programs that we use on a traditional basis every day inside the building.
And I'm sure that, if you're able to implement some of the things that you both are talking about, that it'll feel like you're being more proactive than reactive. And like Tanika says,
Exactly.
I think the entire world just kind of jumped into, all of a sudden we're going, totally online or totally virtual. And, it was quite a transition. And I'm sure for, like you said, for parents who had just don't really, they aren't as engaged as they should be in the digital platforms, any help that you can, give them and even the students to supplement their learning to make sure that they are prepared in case we have the storm again, will certainly be appreciated. So, I guess, kind of moving into, a wrap up of this, because you guys have done such a wonderful job to, explain your insights on education and some things that you will encounter as you move into your new roles. But as you look forward to education in the COVID world, what do you really want the public to understand about how you have to approach education, and also what support you need from them in terms of that preparation and just, kind of taking it one day at a time? What do you want them to know?
Well, I would like parents to know that in spite of all that's happening, providing their children with the best education possible is my top priority. The teachers that I'll be working with, our number one goal is to make sure that students walk away, whether we're in a brick and mortar world or if we're in a virtual world, that we're giving them the skills that are needed to matriculate onto the next grade level, or even to walk away from high school and begin the next phase of their life. But just making sure that they work with us, making sure that they are available and that they support what we're trying to do, and understand that we, again, do have that student's best interests at heart. Even though this may not be the most favorable way to learn, because I heard that a lot. I just don't like this. And unfortunately, it is what it is, but we have to push through it and make the best of the situation. And it requires some innovative, unique ways of thinking to be able to do some of the things, some of the courses that students need to have, to give that to them online, but just trusting that we will work together as a team and that we want their input and ways to support, whether that means helping that family get access to internet to be able to make that happen, or making sure they have the computer resource to make that happen, but just working together as a team to make sure that that student gets everything he or she needs to move to the next grade level.
Yeah, just as Demetrius said, the school home partnership is essential. And I would like for parents to know that we are also at Conway High School committed to making sure that their child is going to have, everything that they need to be successful. And I want parents to know above everything is that it is okay to reach out for support. They have to. It is important. It is important, and not to wait until they feel like, this is kind of at my wit's end. We need to be proactive and realize that, teachers, we're here because we love students. So we welcome questions, and we welcome them to reach out to us. That's what we want them to do. And we're not judging anybody, because as I said earlier, if you're not in education, you're going to have questions that, that someone, a non-educator, may have. So just know that we're committed to parents, that we welcome them reaching out to us. We're committed to them. We're committed to our students, and we're going to do everything that we can to support, the students, the parents, teachers, and everything, so that at the end of the day, the students are successful.
Absolutely. Dr. Mac, do you have any questions for our special guests before we wrap up?
I'm excited for you all. I know my fraternity has talked about doing some stuff. I know we reached out to Ms. Schofield and we looked at doing some stuff with our Kappa League. So that's something that I'm sure we'll kind of follow up on with in the years, in the time to come. You know, COVID, provided we can get back in with this COVID stuff. But I'm just happy. Like I said, when April and I talked about the show for today, you know, this was a great topic, a great segue. Proud of both of you all. I know both of you all personally, and had a chance to work with Tanika a lot, with having her son being in the 100 with us, and that's my guy. Tell him I said hello. And Miss Demetrius, certainly, you know, being in school with you. So I'm just happy for you all. I mean, that's all I can say. And again, you know, what kind of frog doesn't praise his own pond?
Amen.
So we're not going to recognize you and acknowledge what you're doing. Then how can we be upset if somebody else doesn't? Again, you know, there are a lot of other principals out that are doing good job. I know Conway Middle and Whittemore Park, and shout out to them and as well. And you know, I'm just happy because you know, being from Conway, being a Conway High School graduate, you know, I was concerned that, and I won't get into this too much, but I was concerned that we just didn't have anybody for a long time that had ties to the community. And so again, you know, when you're coming back home and you're doing things back home, it kind of gives a different flavor and a different spin to it. No disrespect to anybody that was there before, but when you're there and you're from there, it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Oh, and Dr. Mack, I'll be in touch too, so that my students can get partnered with you as well.
Okay, that'll be fine.
And April, I'll be in touch with you as well, but I'll see you on campus.
Well, I'm gonna try to be ready for that, because I know you're gonna put me to work. And I'm more than willing and happy to do it. And like Dr. Mack says, you know, we just wanted to embrace you as our newest principals at Conway High School and Early College High School. There's no doubt about it that you two are going to be leading two of the most prominent schools in the area. They're just most, you know, they're widely known, and there's things that will be expected. And I know that you're expecting a lot of yourselves, or you wouldn't have stepped up to the plate to make it happen. And so, you know, on behalf of the network, we just want to congratulate you and just let you know that I'm sure there are lots of people in the network who probably have some extension of services that you could probably utilize for your students and parents. And, you know, so I challenge anyone in the network to, you know, just maybe even drop a post on this particular thread, and we'll be more than happy to filter that information to both of these principals, and they can go through the vetting process and see, you know, what might work for their campus communities. But it takes a village, and you two are certainly a part of that village. And, you know, just very happy to have you two here today. And we know it was short notice, but y'all made it happen, so we do appreciate it. We try to offer a little variety aside from the COVID-19 every Friday. And this was definitely worth, you know, bugging you guys late last night. So anyway, you know, just thank you.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
And if there is, you know, a parent that has a question that wants to reach out to me, they can feel free to message me on Facebook. I do not get offended by receiving messages. Someone, they always have to apologize, but I'm here as a resource. So if they have a question, they can also message me personally in a private message. That is totally fine. And I'm sure Demetrius, I'm sure you have good.
Yeah. And I want to echo that sentiment. And also, April, if it's okay, I'd just like to say thank you to the community. The outpouring of support and love has been awesome. As Miss McKissick and I were talking, I'm just deeply honored and humbled by this entire opportunity. And it just touched my heart that this appointment feels like it's not just mine. It belongs to the Bucksport community, the Conway community, just Horry County as well. And I just want to say thank you for all the outpouring of love that I've received on social media.
Yes,
absolutely.
I will say the same. Yes, it's been awesome.
Well, we can't leave without you giving a shout out to your friends and family. You definitely, I know there's some people that you want to say hello to, who are probably watching. And if not, this is going to be a rebroadcast over and over again, so they'll be able to hear it. So do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
Tanika, I'll let you go first.
I knew you were going to say that. I would like to give a shout out to my husband, Craig McKissick. He has been in it from the start, and he has prayed with me. He has prayed for me. He has encouraged me, and it has not been an easy process, but I continue to push through, and he's been there with me. My children, my parents, they've been supportive. I can go into things, just different people who have influenced me in the community. But I would, my assistant principal at Conway High School was Mr. Jimmy Floyd. And I have to give him a shout out because he really inspired me to be an administrator. I knew that I wanted to be an educator since elementary school, but he really inspired me as an administrator, and he poured into me. And I said, he showed me that it is possible for someone to look like me to be an administrator. So I really want to give him a special shout out. So I'll let you have the floor, Ms. Williams.
Okay, because my list is long. I'm just joking.
No, it's not. She's not joking.
I do want to give a special shout out to my family. I mean, I was the first in my family to graduate from college, and every achievement I've ever made has felt like it belonged to my entire family. I want to also give a special shout out to my childhood squad of friends that have just been behind me from day one, pushing me and encouraging me. But I also want to thank the educators along the way that just poured into my bucket and just encouraged me and reminded me of why I do this. And there's a litany of names, but I want to definitely thank Jannar Falk, Miss Mary Owens, Margie McIver. Those are ladies that I met early on in my career, and they just poured into me and encouraged me along the way and reminded me that no matter how difficult the road got, that I was meant to do this. And I can't even imagine where I would be without those relationships. And that's something that I want to be able to do for my students. So again, shout out to all those people, and those who I haven't named. You know who you are. You've been my backbone from day one and just in my pocket. And then I also want to say a special shout out to my principal, Quintina Livingston, who just really took me under her wings and just supported me and encouraged me along the way and created opportunities for me to learn things outside of my role as an assistant principal.
That's awesome. And that's show of good leadership right there, that you're supposed to train others to lead as well. So I think that's wonderful. Dr. Mack, you have anything before we roll out? I know these ladies want to get on with their Friday evenings.
Oh, just again, knowing them personally and just so happy for them. And, again, I was just very happy when I saw that announcement being made for both of these young ladies. I know them personally, and I think that they definitely got what they deserve, what they've earned. And I'm glad that they're there. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you two so much. And we want you to stay well, because you got a big road ahead, a big job ahead. So stay well as you prepare. And thank you again for being with us this afternoon. Dr. Mack, there were a few questions that came in after we finished the COVID update. And I'm going to, let's see if we can pull them up real quick. Mainly about, I think you covered any questions that people had about the use of gloves. And then someone wanted to ask, do you think it's airborne? I'm not quite sure of what they're trying to glean from that, but I think you've explained along the way that, how it happens with the droplets and all that. Right. But if you want to touch upon that real quick, and it looks like maybe that's about the only other thing that was coming through, but just want to touch on questions and comments that people may have. We always want to do that.
Okay, so certainly it is airborne in the sense that it's respiratory droplets that are a primary way that this is spread. So that's the reason why we talk about the 6 to 8 feet with distance. That's why we talk about it seems to spread more in places where they're enclosed spaces, choir stands, people singing, yelling. The louder the voice, the further this can carry. So certainly we do know that. So, it has multiple routes of transmission. respiratory airborne is one of them. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you heard it here again on a Friday. Dr. Mack with his COVID-19 updates. Thank you so much. And I know he's in need of some. Yeah.
One other thing, there was another question that came through talking about the stigma being attached with COVID. Okay. There shouldn't necessarily be a stigma attached with COVID. However, if you do test positive, you do need to make sure that you contact people that you come in contact with at least the last 2 to 3 weeks, if you can remember who it was. And those people do need to go and get tested, particularly within a 2-week time period of you being tested. Okay? There's some people that, not getting tested because they don't want to know. They feel like they'll be outcast or ostracized if they have it. But again, this is a public health situation. It's a public health issue. And these are things that if you're not feeling well, you definitely need to get tested. If you've been exposed to somebody, you need to get tested.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that, people feel that way, but it's kind of like that same sentiment that came from some young people we talked to a few weeks ago, and they said, wearing a mask makes me look silly. None of it is silly. None of it is silly. This is about saving lives, yours and other people. So, we got to change our mindset about it, and hopefully, that will happen as we move through this next wave of increases in cases and other things that are surrounding this crisis. But Dr. Mack, thank you so much for being with me again this Friday. And again, I say it every week, as long as you can give us updates, I'm going to be here to help you.
All right.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
We try to keep it interesting. However, we want to make sure we're giving the facts that need to be given. Everything is from credible, reliable sources. Everything is what we call evidence-based medicine, which means there is some place that what I'm saying can be substantiated due to some study that's been done. We don't talk about rumor. We don't talk about speculation. We don't talk about innuendo. We're talking about real medical facts. And that has been sorted and vetted by myself. I read this stuff every day. I'm spending at least 2 hours a day researching this stuff every day. And again, I feel like as long as I have the strength to do it, I'm going to keep giving this information out. Although it does sound some redundant sometimes redundancy is the key to success, and it's a key to knowledge. I've got a friend of mine that does this COVID updates on a national level, and he and I have been talking about weekly, went to college and med school together, and he even had to kind of slow down doing his talks because he felt like, he said, Mac, I feel like I'm just kind of saying the same things, and sometimes I feel like I'm spinning my wheels because sometimes I feel like people just don't get it. And so we both kind of were there to encourage each other to say, look, if we can get one person to understand what's going on, that one person can not infect another person and that can help drop the numbers.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And, this can be a little exhausting and tiring because, we don't just come on here to give our opinions about things. We're actually researching. I'm reading all the time. As a matter of fact, I sometimes don't even know when to put my devices down. But I don't feel that I'm, serving this platform in the way that it was created if I'm not knowledgeable and also not keeping up with the latest developments and able to have an intelligent conversation with you that's not based on opinion. It is based on factual information. So thank you very much. I appreciate you so much. And
thank you.
I can't even imagine doing this with anybody else. It's really been a good partnership.
Well, I appreciate that. And the other thing too, if these, marches and protests, continue and pick up, please protest, march organizers, rally organizers, please encourage mask wearing and any social distancing if at all possible, because those events can serve as super spreaders. So again, just, be careful, protect yourself, protect others, protect your community, your family, protect healthcare workers. I mean, there have been scores of healthcare workers that have died behind trying to give good, sound medical help to people that have been infected. Just on a personal note, I've had, I think right now, as of today, 16 patients that have had COVID-19. And
today.
So, well, today made the 16th. And so, again, some of the people, quite honestly, and I'm gonna just be honest with it about this too, some of these people weren't really taking it as seriously as they should have. And then, I guess surprised that they tested positive. Well, no, I mean, if you're not doing these things that we ask, there's a high probability that you will test positive. And that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get better, but it just means that you have the ability to infect others. And before I leave, I do want to say this because I want to try to leave on a positive note as much as I can. Right now, and I had that written down. Right now, there's been worldwide 4.5 million people that have recovered.
Okay.
And in the United States, it's gone from, in the last week, from 820,000 to 932,000 people that have recovered. Okay. So again, the vast majority of people are going to recover. One of the issues that we don't know, though, is for the people who get really sick, hospitalized, ventilator, what kind of long-term problems they're going to have. We don't know that yet because enough time hasn't gone by to see that. Just like people who were in New York City and Manhattan when 9/11 happened. We knew that the likelihood was that there were going to be some long-term consequences.
Yeah.
It didn't take until years for that to really find out. I've got about 5 patients right now that were first responders in time, when the 9/11 happened. And there are that every twice a year follow up in New York to follow and see what's going on with their heart, what's going on with their lungs, because they were first responders that have relocated from New York to South Carolina. So again, there's still a lot that's not known. So the best thing you can do is just to try to protect yourself at all costs. So that way you'd be less likely to have any potential long-term effects or your family members.
Absolutely. All right. If you have any other questions or comments, you can leave them on this thread. And Dr. Mack and I typically will, peek back at the thread from time to time just to see if there are any comments or questions that we need to tackle. And we certainly do that. These videos typically stay on the timelines for my page and the various pages that I've shared them on. And I'm also going to start to load them to YouTube so that they can be shared in other places. But, please let everyone know that we are here every Friday at 4 p.m. to give these COVID-19 updates. And even if you have, it'd be great if you have some ideas of other guests that we can bring in and, to share this time to talk to you about things that are either pertinent to COVID or maybe not, but just things that you want to know about, that it's great for this platform and we don't mind vetting it and finding out whether or not it's something that would be appropriate for our viewers. So again, thank you all. And we hope that you all remain safe. Happy Father's Day. If you are observing or celebrating Juneteenth, make sure that you check out some of the links that have been posted on the various pages, including the network. Also, I share a lot of stuff from my personal page. But do your own research and find out what Juneteenth is really all about. You got to know what you're celebrating. This isn't trendy. It isn't something that is just for the moment. This is our history. It's real history. It's the part that we probably have not been exposed to in our traditional education. And so now's the time for everyone to gain this knowledge so that we can move forward in society and make sure that, we're all living purposefully to make sure that racial injustice is eliminated from American society, and also to make sure that everyone is treated equally, and that we don't have to continue to go through the things that we're going through now. We did enough of that prior to Juneteenth, as far as our ancestry is concerned, and also over the years. I mean, it's just been a little over 50 some short years that a lot of us have had to deal with things in terms of the civil rights movement. And it's such a short time. I mean, I'm 50. So when I think about the fact that, just 2 years prior, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, it makes me wonder how I would have managed life during that era. And I'm so thankful to have people who are still here to help us understand what happened so that we know what we have to do to make sure that we are eradicating injustices everywhere. So thank you all who are in the fight. Thank you all who are marching and demonstrating peacefully. Thank you all to all who are fighting for our freedoms, and let's celebrate freedom on this Juneteenth for everyone that was affected by those things in history. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you, Dr. Mack. I'll see you next week. Get some rest.
Okay, thank you. Rough week.
I know it. And you all be safe. Thanks so much.
Thank you.